If you're looking for a defense or personal injury attorney, but you're clueless in what you should look for when hiring one, stay tuned to the end as my guests will share the answers to these questions and much more. And I can't wait to introduce you to them. Welcome, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Journey of an Entrepreneur. And I'm Shri Mahabir. I'm a video marketing producer who loves working with medical, dental, and law practices to help them build visibility to their business using social media, videos, live streaming shows like this podcast. So tonight, my guest is a defense and personal injury attorney, and he serves the states of Florida and Georgia. He is the founder of the law firm of Andre J. Smith Esquire. And guess what his name is? Well, I'm not going to hold it to if you don't know. It's Andre. Thank you so much, Andre, for being here tonight. So I got a question. I know that you're super busy working on your clients' cases, but what do you like to do for fun when you're not working on their cases?
It's a lot of things I like to do for fun. I like to play video games now. I've gotten back into it a lot over the last 2 or 3 years. Of course, I love to read. I love going on YouTube, watching those sports highlights and things of that nature. I love watching boxing. Boxing is one of my favorite sports. Playing with my kids. I love playing with my two boys. But this is just some of the hobbies, but I try to keep myself and my mind busy away from the law because it can consume you. But yes, those are some of the things that I really, really love doing.
So let me ask you, for those who are gamers out there, what are your games that you go to and play?
I'm a sports guy. I've always been a sports guy. So I'll play, like, I know a few days ago, I just bought MLB 24, the show, in the NGL edition. So I have not played it yet, but I cannot wait to break it open this weekend. I'm going to play it this weekend. So NCAA, I'm sorry, NBA, Madden, those type of games. I do like race. I love cars. So I have race car games, Need for Speed, Forza 4, Forza 5. So I like race car games as well. So I'm really a sports guy, a race car guy. Now, when the Grand Theft Auto series comes back, I'll be getting that.
Okay, so you're speaking my language. I love cars. I love the racing games, but all of these people who are tuning in do not care about us talking about cars unless they are. So drop it in the comments for all of you who are joining in, whether it's the live or replay. Let us know where you are tuning in from today. And I just want to let you guys know that this conversation is just a conversation. If you have any questions pertaining to a case, or you have questions like you want to know if you need to hire a lawyer, definitely reach out to Andre. Let him know that you heard him on this show, whether it's the live or the podcast. That way he can know why you reached out to him and he can guide you from there. So let's get into this conversation. And I want to ask you, when you are thinking about, what you want to be when you grow up, what initially sparked your interest in pursuing a legal career?
It was around 94, 95. I was in the third grade, and my godmother, God rest her soul, the day she passed away, she sat me down and told me that you talk too much or you talk a lot and you're going to be a lawyer. And I was in the third grade. I was like, okay, whatever. But at the same time, the biggest trial in America was going on as well, which was the O.J. Simpson trial. And so watching that on TV every day and hearing her say that, She passed away the same day. So I took what she said and then saw Johnny Cochran on TV all the time with OJ, and then I ran with it. And so from third grade all the way up until now, the only thing I ever wanted to do was be a lawyer. From that moment when it was instilled in me by my aunt and my godmother that you're going to be a lawyer. So this was in the making 30 some years ago.
So first of all, you're dating me because I actually remember, but I was in high school at that time. So that just lets you know. But I want to ask you, like, so you found out that you wanted to become a lawyer and it was inspired by your godmother. Did you always know you wanted to get into personal injury or in defense?
I knew I wanted to do criminal defense. I did not know I was going to get into personal injury. So where I grew up at, I saw a lot of things that a lot of people don't see on a daily basis. And that kind of prompted me to say, I want to do criminal defense. There would be times where cops would come in the neighborhood and tell everybody to spread your legs, spread your arms, get on the gate. They pat you down for no reason. They would do things that you kind of question and go, is this even legal? And so I knew from middle school I wanted to do criminal defense. But then personal injury came about because when I first started practicing, one of my first personal injury cases, the insurance company, they did something that I didn't like, and they tried to do it to my client. I caught it, and ultimately, it resulted in a great settlement. But from that day, I said, "Oh, well, a lot of insurance companies are not your friend. Well, none of them are your friend now that I know." And unfortunately, a lot of people fall for things that they do. And so when I started finding out the bad side of the insurance company, I said, I want to be the one that fights for the little guy against the big $1 billion corporations. And so that's how I got into personal injury.
All right, now you got me questioning. Do you have to study more to become, work in personal injury, or it's just very easy to just add that on? I know it's a silly question, but I'm just asking because now I'm like curious.
Well, when everybody in the state of Georgia takes the same bar exam to get licensed, what you want to do after you get licensed, that's up to you. So there's no other classes or courses per se that you need to take if you're doing criminal defense and you want to switch over to personal injury or family law or what have you. But we do have something called CLEs, continuing legal education. And those things allow you to stay abreast of the new laws, stay abreast of some of the tactics and things that lawyers need in the toolbox to use when they're going to court or mediation, depositions, whatever it might be. And of course, the networking. You network with others who have done it for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and you basically become a sponge and you try to learn off of them and soak it up to where once you get it down pat, you may can still consult with them, but you may not need them as much because you've learned how to do the job you were reaching out to do before that you didn't know how to do. So
That's really interesting because I find that, you know, I didn't learn to become a producer. I learned it because I was doing it for myself and then learned along the way. But I'm always curious how it is for others in different industries. So when you look at criminal defense, do you specialize in a certain type of case or do you take all cases?
So I don't necessarily use the word specialize. I know people use it a lot when it comes to lawyers, like this lawyer specializes in criminal defense and only does murders, or this lawyer specializes in only misdemeanors. I do everything from traffic tickets to murder in criminal defense. Now, a lot of people do not know that traffic offenses, unfortunately, in the state of Georgia, are also criminal offenses. So the maximum penalty is 12 months in jail and $1,000 fine. So I don't know necessarily specialize in one particular area of criminal defense. Now, there is a difference between representing someone at the trial court level and then representing them on appeal. So I don't do a lot of appellate work beyond the state, but I have done some appellate work as far as habeas petitions, as far as going to the Supreme Court, asking them to overturn a decision that was made by the habeas court, so forth and so on. But primarily, my work is done in the trial court level, whether it be municipal court, which is city court, state court, or superior court. And like I said, that's everything from speeding tickets all the way up to murder.
Okay, so I'm like some, and I'm like, what is habeas court?
A habeas petition is a civil action that you file. And basically what you're saying is that I'm alleging that one or more of my constitutional rights were violated. And so the way it works in Georgia is, let's say if you go to trial and lose, you get found guilty, then you would file a motion for a new trial within 30 days. After you file a motion for new trial, normally you'll file an amended motion for new trial once you get the transcript, do your research and stuff like that. If the judge denies your motion for new trial, then you have a ability to have a direct appeal to the Court of Appeals. If they deny your appeal, then at that point, you can either ask for cert or permission to the Supreme Court, or you could file what we call a habeas petition. So if you've exhausted all your state remedies, now you go to the habeas. And when you file the habeas, you got 4 years to file a habeas. But you really want to file it in the first year, because if you file it in the first year, then it tolls the federal time for your federal habeas if you have to get that far. So in short, a habeas petition is just a civil action that you file saying that my civil rights were violated at trial or pre-trial, and for those reasons, my case should be overturned and I should get either a new trial or back to square one where I was before I went to trial.
Okay, so I'm just sitting here thinking, okay, I need to call you. I wish you were in the state of Texas, but if you're in the state of Georgia or Florida, definitely reach out to Andre. So now, as a potential client who's watching this or listening to this podcast episode, what are questions that I should be asking my lawyer to make sure that they're the right person? Because at the end of the day, the lawyer that we hire is our voice.
I think that first and foremost, I can't speak for all lawyers, but I can speak for myself. In the consultation, the first thing, or my biggest thing, is I try to explain the process. 99.9% of the people who come in my office have never been in any trouble or have never been in a car accident. So my job is to try to break it down as simple as possible so everyone can understand. Some of the biggest questions I get is, what is your success rate? And I try to tell people a lawyer can't tell you necessarily what his success rate is, because if somebody charged with murder, facing life in prison without parole, and you were able to get them disorderly conduct, which is 30 days in jail, you won. Although that client pled guilty, he was just facing a life sentence. So that's one example I can use when I say it might be misleading when a lawyer says, oh, I got 100% success rate on murder cases, but he didn't tell you that the client pled to something, he just didn't plead to murder. Or the lawyer has 30 years in practice and only had one trial and said, I got 100% success rate. Well, you only had one trial in 30 years. So it can be very misleading. So that's one of the biggest questions I get. What is your success rate? I tell people, no lawyer can promise or guarantee you anything. And so when you give your hard-earned money to a lawyer, you better hope and expect that, you know, he's going to do the job and do the work that his track record says he's done. Another question I get is, do you have a relationship with the court, or do you have a relationship with the prosecutors? I have to tell people all the time, I have numerous colleagues and friends that are prosecutors. I know a lot of judges. They know me very well. That does not mean that I'm going to be able to get a certain result because I know somebody. And I say that in consultations because some people have believed that a certain group of people, if we hire these people, they're going to give me the best outcome because of their nationality or their religious affiliation or something of that regard. I tell people all the time, I don't care if I know the president of the United States. That does not mean that I'm going to get you a certain result. So those really are the two biggest questions, some of the smaller questions, how many cases have you done like this, or how long have you been practicing and stuff like that. But mainly, those first two I said are the two big questions that I get a lot.
Ooh, so this kind of begs this question, and that is, okay, let's say you have to go to trial. What as your potential client, what are things that I need to keep in mind to help you be able to win the case? And then two, what are things that I should not be doing so I don't lose my case?
So let's start with the personal injury side. What you shouldn't be doing is posting on social media that you're skiing, rock climbing, you sliding down a hill, you're doing cartwheels, backflips, you're in the club popping bottles. That's a big no-no, because insurance companies, they seek out your social media. And I think recently here, a young lady who had a six-figure case, almost $1 million case, got tossed out because she was shown running, skipping, climbing, doing all this other stuff. And when they saw it, they said, "Oh, you're not as hurt as you said you was." So stay off social media. Your case could last 2, 3, 4 years, but stay off social media doing any activities like that could harm your case. Another thing you shouldn't do is contact your insurance company or the other side's insurance company and start talking to them, because they record everything you say on the phone. And just like in a criminal case, it could be used against you at trial when you say, "Oh, I didn't say this," and they press play, and now a jury hears it and your case is out the door. And of course, when you're going through your treatment, you want to make sure that you're doing it when they say you need to do it, and do it on time, because your lawyer is trusting you to get better. In personal injury, that's the number one goal, is for you to get better. But if you don't want to treat, if you don't want to go to the doctor, if you don't want to go to the chiropractor, if you don't want to do the things to get better, that's going to hurt your case, because now you don't have the special damages or the bills to present to a court or to a jury that you should be rewarded a certain amount for your injuries. So that's some of the kind of the things you shouldn't do. And things you should do is inform your lawyer of any address changes, inform your lawyer of any new injuries that you may have gotten to, inform your lawyer if you got into another accident while you're already litigating another accident. So if you get into a subsequent one, please tell your lawyer. Don't let them be blindsided by injuries that you suffered from a second accident and you're trying to claim that it happened in the first accident. And stay in constant contact. That's one of the big things about lawyers is communication. Stay in contact with your lawyer. On the criminal side, it's kind of the same, but it's a little different. First and foremost, it depends on the charges and what you're charged with. You want to make sure you're working with your lawyer. Yes, you hired a lawyer, but the lawyer is not you. He's guiding you through the legal process every step of the way, but you still have to help your lawyer out. Your lawyer doesn't know everything about the case, so you have to be upfront and honest. I tell people all the time, no matter how good or bad it is, I can't tell anybody, because this is protected by not only attorney-client privilege, meaning that applies in court, but what applies outside of court is a duty of confidentiality. So you can tell me, I'm not trying to make anybody laugh, but you could tell me that you got 30 kilos behind Publix. So you could tell me that you punched somebody in the face, but they didn't catch it on camera. It's your word against the other person's word. You could tell me that in confidence, because I can't tell anybody. And so in the criminal case, you want to not do drugs, not drink, not commit new crimes. You want to abide by your bond conditions if you're out on bond. If we're talking about trial, you want to make sure that you're going over the strategies with your lawyers, or a lawyer, I should say. Sometimes people get lost in the sauce when it's time for trial. Trial is a very, very, very long process and tedious process. But the thing about it is, if you're getting prepared for trial, you have to go through a whole mock trial. We have to pick a jury. You have to be a part of that. This is your life, not mine. I'm going home. You may not. So you have to be involved and you have to help. So jury selection, you have to help. Opening statements, you have to be there taking notes. Every witness that takes a stand, you have to take notes. All this is prevalent because if you don't do this, 12 or 6 people are staring at you. And if you just sitting at the table doing nothing, they feel like, well, if you don't care, we don't care. And while they're supposed to be judging the evidence, you never know what jurors talk about in that room back there. So those are some of the things in criminal cases and in personal injury cases that you kind of should do and shouldn't do.
This is really informative because I know that I've interviewed a few lawyers, but I've never asked these questions just because I was scared. Because I was like, what's the difference? What should you be prepared for? And you really learn when you go through the experience, like, hey, I should have asked this, or I should have looked for this red flag, which you did address. Because I actually had that question, but you answered the question. So it was like, okay, so here I am, I've hired you. And now I'm thinking, okay, you mentioned about communication and you mentioned about being on top of your lawyer. What are common complaints that people talk about when they hire a lawyer, and what are you doing differently?
Communication. That's number one. If there was number 1 through 10, communication would probably fill every last slot. I have. I'm not perfect. I have had instances where I have not got back to clients in a certain time frame. I try to get back to clients within 24 to 48 hours. Sometimes life be life, and like people say, and we have court, we have trials. We may be out on leave or something like that. But I try to make contact with my clients within 24 to 48 hours. Now, the beautiful thing about my firm is we have something called My Case. And My Case is a case management system where people can email me in there, they can text me in there, they can comment on documents, they can upload documents, they can comment on events, they can call me, they can text my business cell, they can call my paralegal. I mean, we have a lot of avenues to stay in contact with our clients. And I do know for a fact that the number one complaint with clients and lawyers is I have not talked to my lawyer. Communication is key. And if you can communicate with your clients, it will make life a whole lot easier throughout the representation. That's the number one complaint. Now, I hear some people also say that my lawyer's working with the other side. Now I don't know what that means. I've never done that before. When somebody hires me and gives me their hard-earned money, I'm working for them. When I go to court, I'm working for them. That means that I don't want them to say my lawyer didn't come dressed the part, because I try to come dressed looking nice every day, that I come clean, that I'm prepared. That's another complaint, that my lawyer wasn't prepared, that my lawyer didn't present certain evidence. And people have to understand that lawyers just don't walk in court and just throw paperwork out there and start throwing stuff out their mouth and go, okay, because my client said it, I need to say it. There's rules, regulations, and guidelines behind certain things that hinders certain evidence from coming in, or that would hurt the client, and the client does not understand that. And the lawyer's protecting their client. It's always in protection mode when you represent someone. And so, again, communication, number one. Two, not being prepared. And I really can't think of any other bigger complaint. Oh, another big complaint is money.
Ooh.
Some clients have paid lawyers, and the lawyer's working on an hourly basis. And unfortunately, some lawyers have commingled funds between the trust account, which is money that's not yours until you earn it, and their personal account or business account. And when clients don't hear from them, and then they go, well, I paid you $20,000, where's it going? And now the lawyer can't justify it. You may be looking at a bar complaint and potential disbarment because of stealing money. So that's probably, I'll say, complaint number 3. But those first 2 are the biggest. Number 3 is not as big, but it's still big enough that I've seen a lot over the past 10 years that people have been disbarred for that reason.
I can see the one about the communication, because I do look up different lawyers and just trying to see what's out there. And then I also understand from my own personal experience how lack of communication can make you feel helpless, make you feel like you're alone, especially in a car accident and there's nobody there. It does feel lonely. So this is something that's going to help anybody who's watching this or listening to this podcast episode to know that you go out of your way to make sure that your clients are getting the communication and they're being heard. So, for some who don't know, and for some who do know, at one point you were homeless. and you were studying for the bar. You had failed it about was it total 5 or 4
Yeah, five.
times?
Yeah, five.
5 times. And you were living out of your car and you were working at Waffle House. And during those moments, because a lot of us are there, where things just seem like nothing's working, what are a few things that helped you keep the faith and believe?
I think first and foremost, you have to, or at least personally for me, I looked at it like there's nothing in life that I didn't want that I didn't accomplish. So being a lawyer was a goal of mine, and I don't care how long it took or what I had to go through, it was going to happen. I was destined to do that. Now, to take people through the perseverance part, you got to understand, I grew up in one of the worst neighborhoods in my city growing up. And we went from one neighborhood to one neighborhood to one neighborhood, and they were all bad. And when you start seeing the drug dealers, the prostitutes, all the other stuff, the shootouts, you see that at a young age, and then you see what it looks like in the suburban area. You see the big houses, the nice cars, the condos on the beach. You start getting a feel for that's what I want to be beyond what I'm in right now. And so I said, if I can make it through that, I can make it through anything else. So the hard part is seeing your colleagues pass and you're looking like, well, why can't I get this done? And doubt starts to cloud your mind. And you start going, well, I don't think I could do this because I'm not smart enough, good enough, whatever. So 2014, 2015, and the one time in 2013, I was unsuccessful. But what kept my faith was I was very close. Mind you, I failed the bar by, I think, 3 points one time and 1 point one time. So it was like I was right there at the finish line. There was no need for me to quit. Now, in 2016, early 2016, when I became homeless, and I tell people this all the time, I didn't dream to be homeless. Like I didn't say I just want to be homeless just so I have a story. No. I had my own apartment for 3 years. Then I became homeless when my apartment told me this was the new rent, and I said I couldn't afford it. They were like, well, you got to move out. So I was a server at Waffle House then. I was at Waffle House waiting tables 3 or 4 days a week, studying for the bar. And Waffle House didn't really, I don't know, care for the bar that much because they made me work the day before the bar in February 16. I had studied for about 6 or 7 weeks. I was sleeping in my car. I was washing up at the QT and a few other places. My cousin had just moved here. I was kind of staying in and out of her house. I was going to other people's house, drinking on purpose so I wouldn't be able to drive home. So I would have a place to stay for that night or the next night. If that was the case, I was focused on getting to this bar license, but my confusion was I've never been homeless. What am I going to do now? And so for February, March, I took the bar in February, March, April, May, I'm waiting tables. I'm still homeless. Most people don't even know this. Well, nobody knows it, but about my cousin, that's it. Nobody knew I was homeless. So then I got the results, or at least I got a phone call from my good friend, Tari Thomas. Love Tari. She called me Memorial Day weekend. It was that Friday, 2016. She said, what's your middle name? I told her what my middle name was. And she said, you passed. I said, no, I didn't. I didn't pass. I've been through this before. So I went to the back of the restaurant. And when I looked at my phone, I saw it. I opened it up and it said, congratulations. And I probably cried like a newborn baby back there. Just dropped to my knees because, all the hard work I had put in from as a child to now had paid off. Like I was finally there, like finally crossed the finish line. And I remember specifically my boss at the time was like, so are you going to quit? I was like, yeah, I'm going to quit. Like I'm done. Like it's over. I've been at Waffle House since I was 17. This is a dream that's been in the making since I was in 3rd grade. So to answer your question, all the stuff I went through growing up in a single parent home, going to bad neighborhoods, having to fight through high school, having to go down to college with no family and make it through there. Worked all 4 years of college, worked all 3 years of law school, worked all those years of trying to pass the bar. The perseverance was already built in me. It didn't happen overnight. It was already built. And I kept telling myself, if I can do this, I can do this. So my whole mantra was, you can't let a test stop you from getting to your dream. And I didn't. And I went in there and I passed it. And as soon as I got my license, I've been practicing ever since.
And Yolanda is saying, congratulations. What an absolutely good feeling. Perseverance and resilience, hard work. That all describes Andre. So when I first heard your story, because I was, I've been stalking, let me just say, I've been stalking Andre for a while. But it was a podcast episode he did that is what struck me, because I knew something was special and I was like, what is it? And when I heard that, I remember I was like, wow, that's powerful, because there's a lot of people, especially men, shout out to the men out there that are living in cars and doing what they need to for their families or for themselves and their dreams. And they don't get acknowledged. They're crying and suffering in silence, but showing up with a smile on their face. And so that was like, you are showing them it's possible. Like, this is just a moment. It's not forever. And you can find a way out of it. And even if you are, not living in a car, but you're just finding like business isn't where you want it to be, or your podcast episode dipped in its ratings or views or downloads, it's just a moment in time, but it's not going to be forever. So the hardest question of the night, what is the best way to connect with you?
Oh, that's easy. So if you want to contact me at my Florida office, it's 407-758-6130. Our Georgia office is 770-615-8853. My email is Andre, ANDRE, at ajsmithlawfirm.com. My Instagram is Attorney Andre J. Smith. We have another Instagram with the law firm Andre J. Smith. We also have a Facebook page, Attorney Andre J. Smith. And I think that's it. That's where you can contact me.
Or you can go ahead and connect with him here on LinkedIn and then message him and let him know you heard him on this podcast, or you saw him on the live, because guess what? He is there. If you are in Florida or in Georgia, he is there to help you with whatever you're going through. Not really whatever, but if you have anything related to criminal defense that you need a lawyer for that, or personal injury. And if you're still not sure what your case is, just reach out. The worst he can say is no, which is not a bad thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to invite you to come and join us. We're going to carry this conversation onto Instagram, and we're going to learn more about Andre, because I have a few more questions that I didn't ask during this time. But also, I'll be going live with a wonderful guest next week is off week. Maybe I'll be going live by myself. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who joined in on the live, who is going to be watching the replay or listening to the podcast. And I just want to say thank you, Andre, for taking time out of your day today to be here with us. And yes, it is an inspiring story. Definitely, Yolanda. Very, very inspiring. And if you're not connected, go ahead and connect with Andre. Hire him. I mean, just do what you need to, because he is there for you. So until the next episode, everybody, bye.